Welcome to All Over the Map. Today, I'm joined by Sue Peck of Evolution Financial. Sue, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, before we get into anything else about financial issues or financial trends or anything else that's happening, we need to talk about our haircuts. So, we both recently got haircuts. My kids did mine. Sue doesn't have kids do hers, so hers might be better.
I had a professional.
Okay. But still, both short for the summer, so you gotta like that. So I just wanted to bring Sue on to talk about a bunch of different things because she's very in tune with what's going on with finances, and that's something I'm not very in tune with, so I wanted to educate myself. And so maybe this is kind of more like a selfish episode of this podcast because I'm trying to learn more myself, and I brought her on to do that.
He's trying to get free financial planning.
That's what it is. Maybe I am smarter than I thought. Anyway, okay, Sue, so why don't you tell us a little bit right away about your company, your organization, and how this all got started, please.
Evolution Financial is a registered investment advisor, registered with the state of Wisconsin. So I can work within the state of Wisconsin or in any exempted jurisdiction, so that does allow for the rest of the United States as well. I work with individuals and families to help them do financial planning, and I also do investment management for them. So I do both sides of that, as well as some clients are just not to the point where they have investments to manage. So we do sit down, we talk about budgets, we talk about, ways to get their financial life in order. So I call that more of a coaching program. And it's to get you to a point where you can do a big financial plan and really get to a better point in your life.
So with, that sounds like a lot, first off, and a big job. And with this new company, this new venture, you're doing this all yourself, right?
Right. It is me. I worked for a number of different companies and I loved it. I learned so much by working with so many other people. And, through my last company, I was able to work through the CFP program and get the education that I needed to get my certified financial planner designation. But after a while, I realized this entrepreneurial spirit is kind of in me. My dad had his own business, and back when I was yay big, I used to play Office with my friends. So when other people were playing Barbies, I was like sitting in a chair with a suitcase that I was using as a desk, and I was playing Office because I'm a nerd.
See how these things are predetermined? This is like her parents are looking at her at that point. Okay. What's in store for us now? We'll see when she gets there, but this is probably no surprise to your parents, right?
No, my dad wanted me to take over his accounting practice, actually, and I didn't want to be an accountant. So I ended up being a financial planner and doing a lot of work with tax planning and things like that, but I am not an accountant. But yeah, the entrepreneurial spirit was in me, and I just felt that it was time for me to go off on my own.
You talked about the CFP designation. Explain what that is and what it takes to actually acquire that, because I think it's something not a lot of people understand.
So a certified financial planner professional is someone who has a very well-rounded education when it comes to financial planning. So you go through 6 different course studies. It can take you 1.5 years, 2 years to get through all the classes. Each one of the classes has an exam at the end, and then at the very end of the whole program, then you have a 6-hour exam that you need to go through. So it's like 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, and you find out if you're a certified financial planner at the end of that. So we talk about things like estate planning and investments and retirement planning and just the general holistic financial planning that you would want to have.
And with, first of all, that sounds more than what I could accomplish. But, so each stage, are you, as you said, you go through all of those things and you take exams at the end. Is it a program that builds upon itself? Do you know if you don't pass a certain stage? Or do they wait to tell you until you get through the whole thing whether you've got it or not?
No, you do have to pass each
Okay.
exam before
Okay,
you
that's
can move
good.
on to the next one.
I was just thinking, how cruel would that be if all of a sudden they're like, we'll just let you take all the tests. Oh, sorry, you didn't pass this one, so you don't get it. Do it all over again. But that would be kind of not cool.
No, you got to pass all the
Okay,
exams, and then at the end they have another part where you need to present a financial plan to somebody who's on the board for whatever education system that you're going through. And then you have to pass that before you're able to actually pass the final exam. Or take the final exam. So I was doing all of this while I was working. So I was working 40 hours a week and I was not studying while I was working. So it was basically work 40 hours a week. I would come home every night and do 2 or 3 hours of studying, and then on the weekends I would do between 6 and 8 hours every single day. So each Saturday and Sunday, and then lather, rinse, repeat. And then I passed all of the first exams, and then after that point, I think they said it was, on average, they recommend you do another about 120 hours of studying before you actually take the CFP exam.
Wow.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah, and while you had a full-time job at the same time, so.
Right.
Man.
Not so much with socializing for a year and a half.
And that's really funny because we'll talk about her social media presence a little bit. She's very active. One of the more, I didn't even realize you actually have two things. Well, you kind of run with your one identity, and then you also have your other one that's kind of going. And so between, she's like two people on social media, very active. Anyway, so before we get into all that stuff, though, so a little more about the financial planning side. People make money, but they don't always understand what to do with it, and how to make that money work for them best. And then there's so many different people out there that are providing services that I think a lot of the public just doesn't know what to do, who to trust, who do I turn to. I think I'm just not going to do anything because of that. So when you look at the industry, when you look at everything, when you look at your clients and just in general, how do you think we can get to a better place there where people have maybe a better understanding, but then also we're able to connect people with services that could actually benefit them in the financial world?
Right. So that's a really big question.
Sorry, it was a long one too. I'm good at long questions.
Right. It was a two-parter. It
might not be good, but they're long.
I
They're
need
very
a
long
piece
questions.
of paper like we're going through a debate. So the biggest place where people can invest money is in their 401k plan. And I think a place where companies could do a lot better would be to bring in professionals who can really do a lot of education with people when it comes to their 401k plan. Being presented with a list of mutual funds is not very helpful to a lot of people because you're looking at a list of things that you don't fully understand potentially. So having somebody there to do the education, to sit down with you and explain what each individual mutual fund does, what kind of stocks it has in it, what kind of bonds it has in it, what kind of, take a risk profile questionnaire and figure out where you fit and how much risk you can actually handle. Like, these are all things that are really important in the investment process, and I think they're often missed when companies are presenting a 401k plan to people.
Yeah, I've never felt very comfortable in those situations.
Right.
Like I knew anything or what kind of decisions to make. I just said, okay, this sounds good, sign me up for that and go forward. And
I think that's why, not that there's anything completely wrong with them, but that's why the target date funds are becoming so much more popular, is because I think that seems very straightforward to somebody. Well, I'm going to be retiring in 2040, so I should choose the target date 2040 fund because that's obviously the right one for me. And it just seems very straightforward, but it might not actually be as straightforward as it seems. You might be somebody who can handle more risk, and so maybe choosing the target date 2045 fund might actually be better for you, even though it's counterintuitive because you're going to be retiring in 2040. So I think target date funds have been really great for people because they really help people, do more investing as opposed to like, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm just not going to do anything. But still, more understanding and more education is the direction that we need to go.
And how do you think you can relay that information better to the public? I mean, in terms of what can people that work in the financial industry do to basically educate the public better about what it is that you do and how that can positively impact their lives?
So that's one of the things that the CFP board has actually been working really hard on. They've been ramping up a big marketing campaign, a really big advertising campaign. I often hear the commercials on like public radio, so it's talking about the benefit of finding a financial planner and what a financial planner can do for you. So I think it's really great that they're doing that, but I think one of the things our industry does need to work on is being more approachable to the everyday person. Because a lot of people look at a financial planner, or we have names like wealth advisor and things like that. And if you have $20,000, you look at a person who's a wealth advisor, you look at that and you're like, they want nothing to do with me. I don't have much money. So I think we as an industry need to work on how to be more approachable. There are a number of different financial advisors out there that are trying to do it in a more affordable way, like doing group classes, things like that. As a financial advisor, we still need to be able to pay the bills too. So you have to find that balance between how can I help more people and how can I still pay my bills. And so there are financial advisors out there who are doing group classes where people can, buy in for, $25, $50 a month or something like that to do these classes, which improves the education. Many other advisors are not going to be as affordable as that. So I think we need more of that out there.
I think that's great because, like you said, when you're in that position where you don't feel like you have a lot of expendable income or income to do something with or to invest, you feel like that there would be no interest for anyone who does this professionally to even consider me as a client. So how do I build? So you're stuck in this place where, okay, I don't know the best things to do to build up my income. However, I'm too small for people to look at me, so I'm kind of stuck.
Right.
And I think a lot of people feel that way.
And one of the things, like with my coaching program, one of the things that I'm trying to do is show people that, yes, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars per month to work with me, but we can absolutely find that savings for you elsewhere and then continue to do the financial planning. When people don't actually do the actions and continue to do what they've always done, they don't necessarily know where they can kind of tweak their budget and maybe even find more money. Or, one of the things that I know a number of financial planners do is help people with kind of coaching them through how do you ask for a raise? How do you try to get ahead in your career? Are there classes that you could take that could get you more money? It's not necessarily always saving. There's the idea that you can get more money too.
That's a good thing to consider. How do you get to a better place professionally? And if there's assistance there or suggestions there, I think that's really helpful. One other thing I wanted to just bring up here was that with people's kind of understanding and their need to have, do so much vetting before they even make an inquisitive phone call or email or touch base, how do you think the industry in the financial world can work with that? Because I think it's challenging in a lot of industries, but I think it's pretty darn challenging in an industry that people already feel like it's hard to maybe be a part of or connect with. Some of the challenges we were just talking about with maybe not feeling like they have enough income, maybe not recognizing the investment to, the long-term investment of it, like how you can still come out ahead by putting a little money in, things like that.
I think the industry is getting a little bit better when it comes to that. You have a lot of robo-advisors out there that are coming into play, things like Betterment, things like Acorns. They are a way to get started in saving and get started in investing, and I'm really happy that they're out there because it does provide that little bit that somebody could do. But again, I think it comes back to us as advisors. Like, we simply need to start talking about our value in different terminology than what we've used in the past. Mm-hmm. Because it is very much, it's the old boys club. You go golfing, that's where you get your clients, right? I'm going to go and hang out in the bar at the golf course, and that's where I'm going to find all my clients. And that's, I'd rather find my client on a pool table. So, we have to figure out how to be more approachable and show people the value that financial planning can have when it comes to just getting things started. It's the idea of the compounding that can happen. Yes, you start off little, but as it grows, you can get to a place where you can actually see that there's hope for a good retirement.
What's your approach to dealing with clients, to being that advisor for them and wanting to have that personal connection with them?
Well, one of the things I actually, experienced this in a meeting yesterday. People came in and they were, they started talking about themselves, and then they stopped and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, should you go first?" And I said, "No, absolutely not. I'm not the most important person in the room." It's always, I want to hear the life story. That's part of the reason why I got into this industry in the first place, is because I think that everybody is fascinating and really, really interesting in their own ways. And I want to hear that story. I want to hear the story about how you got to be the person that you are and how you got to the place where you are, what challenges you've overcome to get here, and what challenges you see in the future that are going to prevent you from getting to where you want to be. And I want to hear all of that first before I start talking. So that's my approach. I love hearing about people. I love hearing about their kids, their pets, their houses, their everything. Everybody has a really interesting job. I have not worked every job in the world, so I want to hear about what does that entail? I don't know how to fix a pipe. Tell me. So I love hearing all of the stories, and that really helps in moving the relationship forward with more trust.
I mean, that's, I think, a great way to go about doing it, and I think that helps a lot of people kind of open up and get past that, maybe that initial fear or the initial hurdles that are in the way of dealing with someone new in a new venture. Those are always scary things, I think, as a customer and as a person where, we're talking about people's money, right? And that's a very personal thing to them. They've worked hard to get it in most cases. They've worked hard to get to the point they are, and it's something that it's a little scary when you're going to put that in somebody else's hands to try to do something with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Or on the flip side, you have somebody who is just ready to retire and they realize they haven't saved anything. And so then they come into the meeting worried that the person across from them is going to be judging them for not having done anything all of these years. And I think the thing is, you have to just come in the way you are. And the whole point is you need to figure out where you're at right now and where you want to be and what can we do to get you there. And it might not be possible to get you to the biggest goal you want to achieve. That's just how life is. But what can we do to get you to a place where you're comfortable, happy, content?
What do you do with people that come in and have very little guidance, very little idea of what they want to even do? Because I think that's where I would fit in. What do you do with customers like that? How do you approach those situations and help them find their way?
So you got to talk about what brings you joy now, and that will likely not change too much over time. I think I was listening to a podcast yesterday that was talking about putting together the 10 top things that bring you joy in your life, and how are you going to live your life to continue to bring that level of joy. And so making sure that you maintain that. Obviously, if you're talking to somebody who's 25 years old and you ask them, when do you want to retire? They have no idea. They have no idea what job they're even going to be doing 10 years from now because you change careers so many times. So it's not necessarily let's plan for all of your life goals. Sometimes it might just be planning for the next 5 to 10 years, but you do have kind of some bigger goals that you want to be talking about. Like you might want to be planning for your kids' education, right? That's somewhere in your head and you want to make sure that you cover that. So, we'll work on that as part of the goals, but then, we'll just talk about what else is important to you and try to maintain that part. Also, it's the idea, kind of coming up with what are you content with and what are your values, and making sure that your money is going toward those things, and setting aside a little bit or a little bit more for future Jason to figure out when future Jason knows what he wants to do, then that money will be there for future Jason.
What does he want to do? Well, I'll tell you, it's a tough thing, I think, and the work you do, I think, is really important. And again, you have to try. In my view, if you're going to be a customer and give someone else your money to try to assist you to get to a better place, there has to be trust. It has to start with trust for me. So I think a lot of people feel that way, and maybe that's why I like the way you're approaching everything and what you're doing in particular, and taking that focus and taking that time to get to know people. I think it's just incredibly important for this type of a relationship, because that's what you want it to be, right? Like a relationship with your customers, not just, they just know you as a customer. You want to know them personally. You want to see them succeed.
Absolutely. This wouldn't be any fun for either one of us if it didn't go that way, because I don't want to sit across from a lot of people that I don't know. I want to be, dedicated to their lives and making sure that I'm doing what's best for them.
Okay, so we talked a lot about the business part. This with Sue Peck, owner and founder of Evolution Financial. The website?
Evolutionfinplan.com.
Okay. Should probably get that in there a few more times
Okay.
before we're done. But also, so you are, aside from the financial planning side of you, there are some other interesting things that you have going on. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of your other interests and what you spend your time doing when you're not working on so hard for people to plan their financial future?
So I love getting out and doing everything. Part of the benefit of starting a business is you kind of have to go out and network all over the place. So I do a lot of networking, a lot of different areas around town. Part of the great part about that is just meeting all the people. I talked about the fact that I think the people are just absolutely fascinating, and everybody has something amazing about them. And so I love going to all the networking events. I remember telling somebody once that if I could be a professional networker, I would totally do it. So I love going out to all of the networking events, meeting all the wonderful people and talking about their lives and talking about what they're doing with their businesses. But outside of that, I'm a part of a couple of different, business associations, and I work with the Northeast Side Senior Coalition on their finance committee, and that's a great organization helping low-income seniors on the north side. And then, of course, there's the home life where you got a couple of dogs and a bunch of chickens and
A couple of dogs and a bunch of chickens. Yep.
Yep. So,
And you're married.
I'm married.
Have a
Got
nice-
a husband too.
Nice man there. Nice man there. That I've met him. He's a great guy. But so in addition to all that, I thought you were going to get into your enjoyment of music, because I wanted to talk about that a little bit in your history and then where you are with that now.
Okay, so with music has always been a part of my life. My mom played piano and flute. My dad played trumpet and actually started picking up piano lessons at about age 67, I think. And he sings in barbershop quartet. They both sing in the church choir. So growing up, all three of us kids had to learn how to play piano. My brother got to stop quickly. I was not so lucky. I had to keep going. My sister plays French horn. My brother played trombone. I played trumpet, baritone, and trombone. That's it. And then I sang. My sister sang as well. So very much the musical family. Did the swing choir, jazz band, marching band thing in high school, and then when I got to college, I was a part of the UW marching band as well.
Aha, there it is.
There it is. He was waiting for it.
So this is pretty impressive stuff, right? I mean, not a lot of people get to that level and, at a prestigious university and are part of the marching band. I mean, had to be a pretty cool experience.
It was a great experience. It really, probably as far as leadership goes, that was where I learned a lot of my leadership skills. It's one of those things that stayed on the resume, not just because it's something that's fun to talk about and makes employers like you, but it's also because it is where I learned a lot of the leadership skills, and also, learning a lot of the teamwork and learning a lot about my own individual like how to break through different hurdles and how to figure out how to get past that point that I didn't think I could get past. That was a really big part of the marching band, is just like getting to this complete point of exhaustion, realizing you still have a half hour left and saying, okay, I just have to do it, and you use that, almost daily in every part of your life. And I remember one of the things that Mike Leckrone used to say is, you can handle anything as long as you know when it's going to end. And that was what he would usually say near the end of practice. And he'd be like, it ends in 6 minutes. And then he would push you hard.
It's a good approach.
It really does help. Just going, okay, you know what? I just have to keep pushing through this because it's going to have to get done. So learned a lot of skills there.
Yeah, it's a good life lesson too. I mean, completing something, pushing through some challenges, those are things we all have to learn. And, I'm experiencing that with my kids right now, to be honest with you, and a couple things that they're involved in. My daughter's getting a little tired of violin lessons, but she's, and there's some challenges right now, but she's, we're like, hey, you got to stick with this and you got to do it. And then my son didn't have the greatest start, his first experience ever at organized baseball. He hasn't actually even watched baseball before participating in this little league that he's in now, and didn't understand the game. It's totally all new to him. But he said he wanted to go for baseball, and I said, "Well, but, okay, all right." I don't know where that was coming from, but all right. And it started off a little rough, and he got frustrated, and I was like, "Okay, but you got to stick with this. You're going to stick through the season, and just do your best." And he pushed through that part, and now things are going better.
Great.
So,
Absolutely.
So if you don't get a chance to actually be part of the UW marching band, you can still learn that stuff, just not quite as well, or maybe not in the same way.
And not having as much fun either. Because there were,
Right.
I mean, on top, I always talk about my marching band friends as being some of the best people on earth, because they're just an amazing group of people who are doing some seriously amazing things. And every time I get together with them, I just kind of feel like I need to work harder because all of these people are doing amazing things. But, on top of that, we all went to, bowl trips and other Big Ten trips. And I, marched on Lambeau Field 5 times. So that's kind of amazing. It's magical, actually. It's pretty magical. Just stepping onto that turf. I don't remember pregame from the first one because it was just, I stepped onto the turf, there's a crowd, and then I was marching off the field. I'm like, well, what happened?
And so were you a marching band person that also enjoyed watching the games, or were you not as much into the sports themselves, but really like that event in of itself was pretty big?
So I got more into football as time went on. And part of that, I give Mike Leckrone a lot of credit on this. If you aren't paying attention to the game, he's going to call you out on it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
that was the reason we were there. So if you're goofing off in the corner, you just come over and just kind of like, hey, watch the game. That's why we're here.
Nice. Okay. Wow. Well, that's good. I try that with my kids. I've taken my son to a baseball game. He just didn't really pay attention to it or learn it, but he's getting there. He's learning it.